Are you ready? Let's open up this town board meeting at 7:05 on 10/29. Please stand for the pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, folks, it's a special town board meeting. We're going to have two public hearings tonight. The first one will be on the seeker, or not on seeker, I'm sorry, on the comprehensive plan. The plan the town is getting ready to review and hopefully adopt. And then we'll have a second public hearing on the Princtown 2014 preliminary budget. From there, we'll go into the seeker review on the comprehensive plan. We'll follow that up with with the items on the agenda. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor up. Let me just read this so we'll know where we stand. At the past four town board meetings, the town board received comments both verbally and in writing regarding the proposed revised comprehensive plan submitted by our comprehensive plan review committee. The board has now had the opportunity to review those comments and to make its own edits to the proposed comprehensive plan. Copies of the comprehensive plan as amended by the town board have been available for public review and comments since September 27, 2013. A referral was made to the County Department of Economic Development and Planning in accordance with Section 239-M of the General Municipal Law on September 27, 2013, and we have now received the county's comments that state that it defers to local consideration, but offers a few minor suggestions as to wordings. Read attached zoning coordination referral. We have, that's this other piece of paper, folks. I had it on a regular piece, then it got lost in transit by the time I get down here, so I cut and pasted the edits that the county, it says Steve, it's actually Steve Feeney, and then below is the reference to the pages. We have so some of the comments are the comments that the county has asked us to consider. The town may wish to reference in the introduction the previously adopted town comprehensive plan from June 1989. Bullet number 2, table the 2013 budget indicates that expenditures are expected to exceed revenues by $133,700 or 29%. This should be explained. Schenectady Metroplex monies are referenced as a source of real property taxes. Metroplex contributes to the town or a portion of the county sales tax and not property tax. Bullet number 4, the town should consider incorporating into the comprehensive plan by reference the Route 20 land use and transportation study prepared in 2008 for the towns of Princtown and Gilman by CDTC. This document can be found at the following link, www.cdtcmpo.org. All tables and figures should provide a source when applicable. So those are the references from Steve Feeney and the county. It's signed off by Ray Gillum. We have incorporated the county's suggestions in the comprehensive plan since they are merely technical in nature and make no substantial changes. Members of the public who are invited to speak on the comprehensive plan as amended by the town board. If you have previously spoken on a comprehensive plan at a prior meeting, please be advised that we're particularly interested in any comments you may now have on the board's revisions or the county's comments. Certainly, any member of the public is free to comment on any part or the entirety of the plan. So at this point, I will open the floor for public comment on the comprehensive plan for the town of Princetown.
Paul Golding, 162 Overlook Lane. I have two things to say. The first has to do with the meeting last week. By the end of that meeting, I was kind of teed off. I didn't say anything at the meeting. Two members of our committee, Lisa Carandi and Doug Thorpe, both spoke critically of the changes that had been made. And actually the way in which the changes were made was what they both addressed. Specifically that the committee had not been consulted in regard to these changes, but they had been made simply by the board. You may recall that the same thing happened with the previous committee and the previous town board when Mel was the supervisor and said that they were going to make changes to the committee's submission from Joe, who was the chairman of the board, of the committee at that time. And Joe wanted his committee, which I was on also, along with Nan Stolzenberg, who had worked with us on the plan, to address the board and speak about the changes. And Mel refused that. And we have not been consulted as a committee on this either. And I have to tell you that legally that's perfectly correct. We did our job. We finished writing the comprehensive plan. We submitted it to the board, and legally what's supposed to happen then is that the board makes its changes and is not required to consult with the committee at all. So Mel got it right and Mike got it right, and it's kind of amazing for me to have a sentence that said that. But there were also comments about the changes being made behind closed doors. Honestly, I don't know how you do them behind open doors, because, I mean, to try to do, we spent as a committee sometimes as much as an hour on one paragraph. So to try to do that in a public forum would have been, I think, impossible. I think you can do a better job at a big table in Cannelly's restaurant, or, you know, by exchanging emails or telephone calls or Skype or whatever. So that's not what ticked me off. What ticked me off is that Lisa repeatedly asked during her speech, repeatedly asked, what are the changes that got made? And perhaps upset by the tone of her questioning and her statements, Mike rather summarily dismissed it by saying, well, the new plan is on the website with all the changes highlighted, which, by the way, wasn't true, because the new plan was on the website, but not with the changes highlighted. And then read off a list of page numbers of where the changes occurred. And I thought that was wildly inappropriate. I thought it was the time for, because these are supposed to be public hearings where the people of the town can learn what happened, what changes got made. A number of people read the version that we submitted and had comments on that. And you know, some of the feedback we got was fairly positive on the compromises that have been made in that plan. So I think that would have been an appropriate time to at least say what changes the board had made. It would have required, and I was sitting in the back with Doug Thorpe, and he was wildly trying to go through both versions, the one we submitted and the one that was the final version, trying to figure out what changes were in there. Well, since then, I have read the version that's on the website. I've been recovering from cataract surgery for the last couple of weeks, but I finally got cheaters that will allow me to read real close up. So I read that and I compared it word for word with what we submitted. And there are very few changes. And those changes, despite the fact I've heard some people say that the board changed it back to the way it was, they didn't. They made very few changes. And they could have been easily summarized last week, but they weren't, so I'll tell you what they are. The changes had to do with basically the concept of the gateway to the town and the town center and how that might affect the rezoning of the property right here at the beginning of Princetown. And I know why it was changed, and it has to do specifically with the food storage and distribution center that's proposed there. And I think that's fine. I don't think, and I can't speak for the committee, because I only see one of them sitting here, as to what their opinions on that change would have been. But I have to tell you that the rest of the plan, as I read it carefully, is the same one that we submitted, with just that basic change. And I personally happen to be in favor of that change. So I would like to take this opportunity to encourage the board to pass this bloody thing, because I think it's a good compromise, and I think it's one that's supported by a lot of people. And I think you've done a good job of making that one small set of changes, and I would strongly ask you to do that. That's number one. Number two is what happened after that, and that you may all be aware of already because of a series of emails that were sent. The first one was sent by Lisa. She intended to give Mike a good comeuppance and to explain his deficiencies to him in great detail. And she sent it to what I think she believed to be his email address, mjoyce@gmail.com. But, and I need to put my cheaters on to read some of this. It turns out that Mike's email address is mjoyce@princetown.net, and mjoyce@gmail.com lives in California, in San Jose, California, and is associated with a church there. So when she wrote to him, as she thought, she was responded to by California Mike, we'll call him. California Mike has quite a sense of humor. And I admit, when I got that email forwarded to me from Lisa that included the response with the offensive word, the C word in it, I was outraged. And I had no idea that Mike would be stupid enough to have done such a thing. And after a while I thought, well, he probably didn't do it, and I wondered how it happened. Who owned that address? So I sent a one-liner to that address just to find out who would respond. I said, whoever you are, your use of that word is beyond offensive. And that address responded to me and schooled me on the use of the English language in Australia and in Ireland and the etymology of the C word and so forth. And I thanked him very kindly for the education and told him that I really only wanted to elicit a response from that. I passed the info on to Justin Mason at the Gazette, who did a lot of research himself, entered into a correspondence with M. Joyce of California. And since M. Joyce copied me on the correspondence with Justin, I feel justified in reading to you this from an email that M. Joyce in California sent to Justin. He said, hey Justin, this is after a series of other ones that I won't read. I am indeed just a guy who happened to make the mistake of registering mjoyce@gmail.com way back in June 2004. As you might expect, I get my fair share of emails that aren't intended for me. Martin's flight itinerary, Matt's hotel reservation, and apparently there's a teacher who shares my initials, and here's an example from last week. He wrote, and he included this little exchange, which unfortunately he put in as a photograph rather than text, so I couldn't blow it up, and printing is so tiny, forgive me if I stumble on it. This is something that he included in his email to Justin. This is from Cynthia Wissow, and she wrote, hello Mr. Joyce, I sent an email to you last week regarding the missing grade for Jerome's weekly writing number 3 assignment that he had emailed twice to you, and also I did not see the grade for the term paper submitted. Will these 2 grades be added before the final grade period is out? And if you want to respond to me, then she gives her email address again. And he responded, nope. Also, I'm afraid that I will have to fail your son. Specifically on the basis of his mother insisting on doing his busy work and conferencing with his assignments for him. And she responded to, "Hello, Mr. Joyce, Jerome currently has a B+ in your class. Why would you fail him? I thought we were encouraged to follow up on assignments and programs, as you said when I came to the open house. Well, what you have just sent me as a response is either a bad joke or I'm not sure why you would respond like that. Please call me at your earliest convenience." And she gave me her phone number. And he replied, "Cynthia, our district has a strict policy of providing minus 35% to all students who we suspect their parents or their guardians are providing assistance on their assignments. This is inclusive of follow-up, tracking, and coordination. See section 23.8.4 of our local law," which he then goes on to quote. But he does end up saying, "Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do here. My job is on the line." So that's the fellow we're dealing with. That's M. Joyce, who in the email that he sent to Justin concluded by saying, "I might add in closing, the politics of the town is utterly preposterous. Perhaps this episode might provide a bit of grounding to the various pundits involved, but my suspicion is that it won't. With folks already publicly lying and claiming conspiracy theories in order to discourage such lies," and I'm going to copy, and he did copy me on that. He did go on to say, forgive me for not using the C word, but I will call it the C word. One correction for your article, I'm not actually a musical director, but I do live in California, and in a strange twist, at a Halloween party on Saturday, I met a band called Jesus Christ and the Filthy C Words. Due to the coincidence of our shared nomenclature, I shared with them the anecdote of this small town. We laughed with delightful mirth like 2-year-olds being tickled. I just want to say that I hope everybody votes next week. I really do. And I hope to God that California might has no effect on our election one way or the other.
Thanks, Paul. Additional comments on comprehensive plan?
Mary Sheehan, 269 Shagbark Court. I was appointed to be a member of this comprehensive board, and I have had an opportunity to review the changes that have been affected by both the Schenectady as well as the board's changes that have been made, and both what Paul said and what has been contained in the changes in the plan, I do endorse what has been done in that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to approach. Thanks. Mary,
Oh,
your thumb drive.
oh, thank you.
We got our copy of the comprehensive.
All right, I hope all
Thank
the...
you so much for your efforts.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm sorry it took so long to get
No,
back to you.
I hope all the versions on here didn't cause any confusion.
Oh.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Mary.
If you need anything, let me know. If you need anything.
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Andy Brick from Niles EPC on behalf of BTL Properties. First, Supervisor, let me say, anybody with half a brain knows you had nothing to do with that email fiasco. It took me about 30 seconds when I received an email on Friday to figure out that the mjoyce@gmail.com is some jerk from California. Please don't even think that reasonable people think that has anything to do with you or came from you. It's ridiculous. It's changing the focus. It's moving the goalposts, and it's ridiculous. And please, any reasonable person knows it had nothing to do with you.
Thank you.
The issue with the comprehensive plan, though, is a serious issue. Let's put all that stuff aside. I have filed a Freedom of Information request to obtain the secret documents that I have not received yet. This is a type 1 action to amend your comprehensive plan. I have no idea if you as a board have reviewed the environmental assessment form. I have not seen a copy. As stated by one of your comprehensive plan members here this evening, you changed the comprehensive plan to hurt my client. You changed the comprehensive plan to negatively impact a multi-million-dollar project that he has proposed on land that abuts Rotterdam and Princetown. That was stated on the record. It's clear in the document that's what you're doing. I mentioned at the last public hearing, there are unsupported statements about traffic that have no support in the record of our planning board review for the project or your record. I've seen no traffic studies about conflicts with Chalmont school traffic. It doesn't exist. I would urge you to take the time to remove the language in the plan that's unsupported. There's nothing there for that. And it's not just well, we're going to get it done because we decided we're going to get it done in October. There's unsupported statements justifying an action that you're going to take that could negatively impact my client's multi-million-dollar project. I would urge you to remove that language. I would urge you to provide to everyone. The two board members here, have you seen the environmental assessment form that they're basing their decision on or proposing to base their decision on tonight? Has either one of you read those?
Mr. Brett, please.
I haven't. I haven't seen it. We should have a conversation about it. It should be released. I filed the Freedom of Information request. I was told it would be available November 8th. I don't know why it takes 3 weeks to release a, 23, 24-page document. I filed it on October 9th. What you're doing with the comprehensive plan is within your authority, and it's a good idea to have a comprehensive plan. But to use a comprehensive plan to attempt to make one possible project go away is a problem. It's a problem with my client. It's a problem philosophically. You should not be doing that. We don't even know, based upon your language, the extent of the town center you're proposing. But the language that currently exists is problematic, it's actionable, and I would urge you to not act upon it as it exists this evening. Release the environmental assessment form so we can all review it. Let's have a public hearing. Let's have a conversation about what is going to be in the comprehensive plan before you act upon it. And as an aside, I would suggest we do that after next Tuesday. So thank you very much.
Sir. Additional comments? Well, if there's no additional comments, I know we've had probably 4 open meetings here in the last 4 weeks, and probably 2 or 3 before that, so we've had a good amount of open meetings here. But if there's no additional comments, then I'm going to close the public hearing on the comprehensive plan at 7:30. So bear with us, folks. The other part of the meeting, and I do have copies of the budget. So we got a copy of the budget? You guys got a copy of it? Do you copy? I just updated a couple notes. So there's copies, if anybody wants to see the budget. So I take the opportunity to put it up on the screen so everybody can see it a little clearer if there's any questions. Again, there's no major changes, but we do want to highlight a couple of points that I think are fairly important. Can you see all right?
That'll work.
Oh, I don't think we want to light.
Yeah, hold on, let's see here, try this out.
Maybe turn the bathrooms on.
This is, just shut the others off. Shut those off, we'll leave that on. That's good. Perfect.
So I know everybody's busy, so I'll just go through this, not fairly quick, but, so this is our projected revenues. These are the results of 2012, there's the 13 budget, the 2014 tentative budget, and what we're considering tonight will be the preliminary budget. So those are the expected revenues, planned revenues for the town. So, we're projecting between 2013, an increase of about $4,000 in additional revenues for this year. So the next few charts, folks, are going to be a breakdown. It's all in one. I'll just go through these as we go along here. So here's the town board. We're expecting no changes. There's been no change really from 2012. It's the salaries, $21,604, which is really divided by 4. $5,266 per councilman or board member, and then we put $400 in the supply line. The next next line is the justice line. So again, the 2000 audit, these are the actual results that we filed with the state. Here's the 2013 budget, which that's the season we're in. Here's the tentative budget that was submitted by the court. So one point I want to highlight is the tentative budget is when the departments and the chairs and the staff of the town submit their budgets to the board for review. So this is what they're submitting to us, saying this is what we think we're going to need to spend for the year. So for the court, here's their figures that they put in: the salary for the clerk, supplies, equipment. Obviously, one piece we're concerned about is the court security, insurance. Projected expenditures is $85,880. Now, the way we do our budget, and you'll see a little further on, is we actually have a line further down where we consider all the health insurance, we consider all the retirement, and then the FICA and med. Actually, we really don't break that out, but it's in there. So when we start breaking out and saying, like, what is the true cost of these departments, we need to consider adding in these other items. You know, so for example, for the court, the health insurance, in this case, it's actually two people. The township,
One person, one soon to be none.
well,
One
so,
person.
I understand, excuse
Okay.
me.
Well, please,
So
keep it right.
so it's health insurance for husband and wife. It's not a family plan, it's not a single person, it's two people, but it's one employee. So retirement is based on a state, the state salary and state retirement, which is 20.8%. So it's the salaries of the two employees times 20.8%, and that's the cost to the town is $9,615. The FICA is 7.5% of the salaries for the employees. So our concern here is obviously that the projected expenditures of $8,500 plus these amounts, the total really comes to the cost of the court is $105,420. Now that's based on, if you roll back up to the first page, you can see the projected revenues for the court are only $90,000. So our concern here as the board, our concern is that we haven't left the gate yet and we've got a deficit. So this is something that the board or the team next year is going to have to consider. The next item up to the supervisor line, again, 2012, 2013, a tentative, and then the preliminary, or yeah, preliminary. So again, we took the salary supervisor unchanged, supply line unchanged. This is actually going to change to $12,000 right here. So we did ask Denise Teets to join the team as the now clerk and help around the office, plus the bookkeeper salary. Technically, they both report to the supervisor line. Again, using the same formula of 7.25% of the total salaries, the additional $1,500 for a total. True total of the supervisor's office is really going to be $27,780. Again, on the assessment office, the same formulas. The retirement at 20.8%. Health insurance is $32.40 by a single. In the case of the court, two. Again, the FICA at 7.5%. The true cost of the assessment office is really $53.5. The town clerk's office, again, pretty much no change from 2013 submission. But again, using the same formula, the health insurance, the retirement at 20.5%, the FICA at 7.5%, the true cost of the town clerk's office is not 42, but 53.7, 53.8 really. The attorney's line, as we all know, we hired Mr. Cuevas last year at a flat fee of $35,000, but we break up the attorney fees between the town board, which is really above here, and then we break out additional $3,000 and then $1,500 to a couple of boards to cover their activities. So it's really actually a flat change or no change to the town attorney contract. The web and the Sims program, again, no change, flat fees of $2,000. On the final budget, this is pretty important because this is the, I think what everybody's being a little bit nervous about, the 911 or the Unified Communication Centers, or yeah, Unified Communication Center. It's the 911 dispatch center that the county is now incorporating into a single center. So this was pushed down to us. It's a good program, it's a required program, it's critical, but there is a cost to it. You know, the county's not absorbing it, they're pushing it down to all the communities. You know, we're projecting our share next year is going to be $7,500. So we've been able to absorb this cost into our budget we've been able to save, and we'll be able to, we've absorbed it into our budget. There's no town tax, it's not a town tax, it's a county fee. There is no town tax. So when you see the final budget, we're actually going to move it out of the public information services line and move it down into public safety line. So this will change. It'll probably say 911 Unified Communication System. So when it comes up on the website, after we pass the final budget, again, it's going to change. But overall, it may change this line, the public information services, but it will be included in the total general fund budget for 2014. I don't have the mouse here, so. Town hall. Again, we're expecting, flat fees. We did take out professional services last year. We kept the grounds the same. We estimated the FICA and medical at $375, based on $5,000. We might not use $5,000 worth of services for groundkeeper, so that number may go down. But overall, we don't expect too many changes in the expense of running the town. We do hope, and we're appropriating, $10,500 in town hall energy, which is the electric. Obviously, we have the solar panels up there. We're expecting solar to drop this by 30%, maybe more. It's really got a really good location, so even in the winter, we should be able, to collect some good sun rays there. So we've appropriated the $10,500, but we expect the actual cost to come in on town hall energy, at 30% less than that. So we actually hope within next month or so to start being able to compare some bills.
Still a little early,
Yeah, just for everybody that the solar panels officially went online against all 3 locations on August 2nd. So it's going to take a couple months for everything to kind of balance out between, rainy days, snowy days, etc. So it's going to take a little while, but again, we still estimate that we're going to save 30+% at each facility each month, every year for 20 years. So again, no major changes there. We expect some more town hall repairs. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Central Print. This is our newsletter. So again, we pretty much stayed flat. I did put in, again, the FICA. We typically won't use $800 worth of labor, so that'll probably go down. But I did put in an extra $200 just to, assuming we're going to get a postage increase by a penny or 2 pennies per stamp. So I did put an extra $200 in there for consideration. Special items here, again, here's where the insurance starts rolling up. Okay, insurance, we expected our health insurance went up by 20%. So we increased the line from $16,000 to $19,200. Municipal association dues, every township really needs it, and obviously our contingency account has stayed flat. We'll talk about state police building. Again, by contract, we collect $37,000, against the cost of about $33,000. By contract, we're required to perform a certain amount of duties every year. For example, this year we have to update the control room, so that means repair the walls, repair the ceilings, rip out the floor, put a new floor in, put in new workstations. It's probably going to push us about $21,000, I think, by the time it's said and done. And then plus normal maintenance. So this capital improvements really has to be spent every year. Next year's expenditures will be new windows through the state police building. We've already raised a concern that by contract we have to do the windows, but the buildings also need a new roofing. That we had some leaks this year, so Lou's already been proactive getting some. There's actually 2 roofs up there. One's metal, one's a regular shingle roof, but it looks like both will have to be replaced. But overall, again, we're hoping that the state police will stay flat. And again, we're not going to be able to save any money in state police. We pretty much have to spend what we have to spend there. We're not allowed as a government agency to make money, on leased property. Public safety, no change. The fire warden is West Blessing, fire protection and expenses, $200, so no change. The dog control, pretty much stayed flat, actually went down a little bit. Last year, we appropriated an extra, $2,300 for Darla to do the dog enumeration, which I think Darla's here tonight, isn't she? No? Which is actually been pretty successful, so it was actually a pretty worthwhile investment. But as part of it, because of the number of call-outs, the town board did agree to increase her, to give an allowance of $35 per month for her phone, so we did increase it up to $1,315. She had put in $859, but we put in the phone support, so just wanted you guys to know that. Code enforcement, Dan Marciniak, again, it's pretty much flat as it was. No real change there. Vital statistics, no change. Highway, no change, but again, we noted the FICA insurance. Couple of last minute things, and then the youth program with Wayne. Oh, sorry, it's up here. The economic contractual. So, as you guys know, last year we went into a contract with eCode to codify all our documents, all our laws, everything, put it on the website. It's going to organize it, codify it, make it very accessible to all the residents. But we were able to split this over 3 budget lines, 3 budget seasons or years. So it actually worked out pretty well. We appropriated $7,000 in there for it, but I think our final payment is really $5,500. But we did put some extra money in there just in case. But we expect to put out or pay $5,000 in December this year, and then the final payment next year of $5,500. And we're on target for first quarter or so to complete.
Or maybe as early as December. So, what will be the manuscript, and then it's the ball's in our court.
Okay. Senior expenses, which is the Hourglass Society, again, it stayed the same. We give them $1,000. Youth program is the combination of Williamsburg and Princetown, stayed flat. The historian has stayed flat. I did forget to put in the FICA, but 7.5 of 850 bucks is pretty reasonable. We are considering adding some $500 to the Civic Committee. Again, they're doing some pretty good work out here with new gazebo and around the town hall, plus the work they're doing with the historian about recording records. Our planner, again, is going to stay flat. We have her salary in there, and we've given some supplies, which is going to include some training. Again, we have the FICA. The zoning board, again, they're usually paid by stipend. We did reduce this to $1,800. It might come in less. Actually, we go to final. Vic Benson's been very generous, saying they don't meet that often. I think they've only met twice this year, so he's saying he doesn't need the $2,400. So he may be good with $150 a meeting. So we might just turn his into a stipend as long as along with the rest of the board. But I need to work that out with the town board. So we should be able to reduce our planning board, our board of appeals, by a couple, maybe by 1,000 or so. The attorney, as we discussed earlier, the zoning board gets a piece of the attorney's time. Planning board, again, is pretty much flat from last year. Again, salaries, the FICA. Supply lines includes their training, which is pretty much mandatory for all the boards. So no real change in the planning. The ZRC and the comprehensive plan with their own attorney fees and supply. So this was like $500, but I'm asking the board to consider moving that to $2,500. The reason I'm asking them to do that is, assuming we're successful in passing the comprehensive plans, we need to engage the ZRC committee, the zoning review committee. This is the committee that takes the laws and the comprehensive plan and begins to redraft our laws. And so we're gonna have to set up a committee, and we'll probably need to, I'm gonna ask the board to, provide some stipends for that committee. So that was the reason for the increase there. PDAC is just below that, that's pretty much unchanged. So PDAC is unchanged. As you know, every spring we have a tree sale for, in exchange for garbage removal. Some of the community services was where we put our employment insurance in. Last year we put unemployment insurance of $1,000. In 2013 it was at $218, but we moved that up to $3,000. The state retirement, again, it's up by 20.8%. That's never going to, I really don't think that's ever going to go down. So we, the boards in the future need to prepare that, retirement's going to be there, it's always going to be there, it's probably always going to go up. Social Security for the town share, and then the medical insurance. We took an increase of $3,000 on the medical. And then this is the interesting number, the interfund highway fund. So I have to scroll down a little bit further. Highway typically has its own budget. Oops. So, obviously last year we appropriated $50,000. I don't have the final figures in. We did some work at Willow Run, Quackenbush, Rooter Drive, etc. And then snow removal. So 35 last year and 50 for 85,000. But I'm asking the board to consider that 2 roads that are coming up that will need work. If we don't get to it next year, it'll almost definitely be the year after. So we need to appropriate and continue to save, because the number's going to be pretty big. But the 2 roads in question are really Willow Run and then it's 165 Princtown Plaza. You can see it when you drive out, or maybe during the day, that road's breaking up pretty good. I can ask the county to see if they can do some kind of repair on it. And Willow Run is also, talking with Joe Ryan, is probably the next one that needs to be addressed. It's like a patch quilt up there now, so I think another rough winter or two, and it's going to have to be fixed. So I've asked the board, or we're going to ask the board to go ahead and appropriate $80,000 plus moves up to $38,000 for snow and ice. So that brings up the total to $118,000 for highway. Now we're not, hopefully, maybe not hoping to spend that much, but that brings us back to the top here. Appropriated fund balance. So last year, it went from $133,000, and again, we still expect this year to increase our reserve by $20,000 to $25,000. We had some unexpected expenditures, which we won't touch on tonight, but we still expect to increase our cash reserve by $20,000 to $25,000. But with the increase that the board needs to consider of 118 from 85, that's why our fund balance is going from 33,000 to 192,000. So it's going to be a tight year next year, but I think again, if the board continues to watch the direction they're going in, that we could make it. But if we don't have the money, then hopefully we could take what we've earmarked here and save it and roll it over into 2015 for the repair of those 2 roads. So I'm asking the board to to look at it, and I think that's probably the biggest piece coming out for next year. So the water fund, as you may or may not know, is actually its own has its own budget. It works the same way as the general fund. You have your revenues in here, and they're not in. Some of them are estimated yet. We're still working some numbers. But we're expecting, right now, they look like they're coming in a little less on the revenues. And then below, we'll start talking about the appropriations. We should, so we talked about the revenues. All right, so here are the expenditures. Again, they're pretty much remaining a little bit flat. Is George here? He was here. The biggest change is the water repairs. So George is asking for, from $50,000, he's asking for $75,000. I think he's asking for the additional monies because he's hoping to repair, again, some of the brackets and stuff that we expect as part of the corrosion. So he's probably going to break ground on, and he's asking for additional monies for that. So that's really the driver of, that's the main driver of the increase. Again, we took the salaries, did the FICA medical, which they break out in the water fund and budget, as you actually see the state retirement, social security, and health insurance for those departments. So, that's why I don't see the big column, but it is right there for everybody. It's clearly marked. The debt service, we're still working the final numbers on the debt services, but as you know, we refinance, so we expect them to be down. Overall, and again, this is a rough number, but the number we're expecting is probably a $2, and all the districts benefited, even though we refinanced 9 or 10 bonds, which is really the 3 districts. All the districts are actually going to save money as a result of the refinancing. And as an average, it's not exact until we finish and come out with the final budget, on an average, we're expecting $2 per $1,000 assessed as savings across the board. So the $2 on the debt plus the solar, again, we're hoping on the operations and measurements that there'll be some savings here. So you can see that we've already appropriated 10,000, 11,000 less than we did. And again, just to roll up. This number is, as you know, we, as part of normal scope repair, we got a FEMA grant that's sitting in the water fund now. That program is just about complete. Actually, we're going to start our final paperwork and process payments here within the next month. So that work on Route 7 is complete. Sorry, folks. This is supposed to be preliminary. Sorry about that. That's what I saved. So those are the fire districts and the tax rates. As you know, we have 4 fire districts and then the sewer districts. And that, folks, is our, you guys put the lights on, Pat, or Heather? So I wanted to walk through that with everybody before we open the floor to the public hearing, which we will do right now. The floor is open for the, read that? So let me just open up and read the public notice so we can be official about it. Please take notice that the preliminary budget of the town of Princtown for fiscal year beginning January 2013 has been completed and filed in the office of the town clerk. 165 Princtown Plaza, Schenectady, New York, where they're available for inspection by any interested persons. Further notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of Princetown will hold a public hearing at 165 Princetown Plaza on October 29th, beginning at 7 p.m. And at such hearing, any person may be heard in favor of or against the preliminary budgets as compiled, or for or against any item or items therein contained. The following 2014 preliminary budgets will be reviewed: Princetown General Fund, Water Fund, Highway Fund, Platterkill, Pattersonville, Pine Grove, and Dwaynesburg Fire Departments. And pursuant to section 113 of the town law, the proposed salaries of the following town officers are hereby specified. Supervisor at $7,994, justice at $19,548, and council members are $5,266 each. Town clerk at $29,882, and highway superintendent at $3,500. So we'll officially open the floor for public comment. All right. No takers? Yes, put them to sleep on the other. All right, I guess if there's no comments on our budget, we will close this portion of the public hearing on the preliminary budget. All right, the next piece of business is, oh, we have to do a resolution. Or not, right, the secret. Yeah. So folks, this is gonna be a little dry, but it is absolutely a requirement. Is the seeker full environmental assessment form. And this is, again, in relation to the comprehensive plan, sorry. To be very clear there, that this is part of the comprehensive plan. The seeker for the comprehensive plan. All right, so we're gonna, for the board, we're gonna start with part 2. Let me hand these out to you guys as a reference. Actually, these are the bad ones.
Mike, there was some stuff in the printer for part 3.
Oh.
Did we need that?
Did you print page 5?
No, page 5 is like cut in
Yeah, that's why I wrote these up, so
half.
I will, do you have an extra one?
Oh, I can go print if you want.
Grab one more. And I'll just take it. Yeah, it is part of this.
How many did you need? 5.
Yeah, 5 will be fine. You guys have one each?
No, we'll look at it.
All right, so we're gonna skip to page, or section 2, sorry. Section 2, about halfway through the document. So we want to take a little bit of time here to go through this. We want to look and talk to each question. And then referencing, well, it's actually section 2, page 1 of 10. So go through the first 13.
After 13.
Yeah, section 2. So we're going to go through and look and talk about each question. I'm going to obviously ask Mike to assist where I go off or if I get stuck on a spot. But again, the proposed you know, the reason for the, going through the seeker here is to determine if there's any action which may be an environmental action as a result of the comprehensive plan. So we'll just start at the top here and go through them. Question number 1, impact on the land. Does the proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? So the first answer is really no, right, because it's not a building.
Well, comprehensive plan doesn't build anything, right?
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, no, it's definitely.
So on the other document that I gave you guys, which is on section A there, so land, which is the piece we're on now. The plan includes a variety of strategies designed to protect land resources. The plan discusses methods for the town to reduce impacts on land such as use of visual impact assessment tools, conservation, and clustered subdivisions, town center or hamlet zones, revised density measurement standards, nodes of alternating zoning in commercial districts, lighting and commercial design standards, and improvements to the zoning, subdivision, and site plan laws. Thus, adoption of the plan would benefit Princetown and serve to minimize, not cause, adverse environmental impacts. Do you guys,
I mean, we're in impact on land still, right?
right, but this was just kind of a general description of what we're doing here.
Okay.
All right, so are you guys okay with that statement, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I mean, when we answered no at the top, I
Right.
mean, you got A through H here that says,
So we're gonna go through each question one by one.
oh, we're gonna, okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Oh.
All right. Give us some seconds. All right, so section 2, or impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, for example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, or caves. We're not gonna be doing anything to that, right?
No, I mean, that, not at all.
Okay. Impacts on surface water, so just let me read this little piece here too, so we're understanding about the water resources. All new development has potential to impact water resources, but the proposed plan, if implemented, reduces that potential. A full build-out of the town under recommended densities of the development will be less than that if the town took no action to change the current conditions. Lower density will lower the overall demand for water and will also serve to reduce the potential negative impact on new septic systems. The plan also seeks to further protect the municipal water supply with changes to the overlay districts and watershed rules and regulations. The proposed plan recommends use of low-impact development standards to reduce stormwater and erosion impacts. Large subdivisions are suggested to be designed as conservation or cluster subdivision, and that will result in more preservation of open space and effective site design to minimize new roads and limit impacts to sensitive hydrologic features. Thus, adoption of the proposed plan would benefit Princetown and serve to minimize, not cause, adverse environmental impacts. So number 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, for example, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes.
No,
No.
there's absolutely nothing.
impact on groundwater, again, we talked about that a little bit. Impacts on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. Again, I don't think we're gonna have any action there.
No.
Again, here they're referencing any, new water supply wells, or possibly any demand on existing water supplies or wells.
Or introduction of contaminants? No,
You know,
no.
no bulk storage of petroleum, et cetera, anything that would possibly have impacts on our groundwater. So the answer,
No.
agreeable is no. Impact on flooding. Again, the proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. Again, no,
No, that's not even a consideration.
yeah,
Well, and we're looking, we have a new local law with respect
To
to.
hazard mitigation.
Right, well,
And
the
floodplains,
you know,
But
which
yeah,
is,
floodplains, so that, where there are limited floodplains within the town,
yeah,
there are gonna be restrictions
Right.
Right.
now, and imposed
yep.
upon any development in those areas.
So the impact on flooding,
The comprehensive plan is gonna be consistent with.
right, no, no impact. Agree, Bob?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Impacts on air. The comprehensive plan recommends preserving the rural character of the town, reasonable growth and preservation of open spaces, all of which would tend to protect air quality. Thus, adoption of the proposed plan would benefit Princetown and serve to minimize, not cause adverse environmental impacts. So the statement or the question is, would the proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source?
What does that mean? Regulated air emission source?
Well, I'm assuming something like a,
Yeah, if you look at A, sub
Section
A,
A.
that
like
gives-
a coal burning plant.
something that's going to emit one or more greenhouse gases at these levels, and when you look at, the levels there,
Yeah.
1,000 tons a year of carbon dioxide, or 3.5 tons of nitrous oxide, 1,000 tons a year, 1,000 tons a year of carbon equivalent. We don't have any kind of development in the town, and nothing in the comprehensive plan would permit that
Right.
kind of development that would
Right.
cause those kinds of emissions.
Right.
So make sure I cover this again. So, the impacts on air, the proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. So we're not gonna be,
No, absolutely no.
all right, number 7. Plants and animals. Major strategies including the proposed plan are specifically directed at preserving plants, animals, biodiversity in Princetown and include use of conservation subdivisions, stream buffers, mapping, and prohibition of construction in the 100-year floodplain. So these are also critical riparian habitats and protection of wetlands, natural landscapes, and steep slopes. These strategies will be protective for plants and animals in Princetown because habitats will be preserved. Thus, the new plan, if implemented, will benefit the environment and would not expect to have any significant adverse environmental impacts. Future growth and development of houses, business, and new roads in the future could reduce natural areas currently available for plants and animals in Princetown. Projects that may come before the town may individually or cumulatively affect plants and animals. However, the proposed plan helps the town to manage and reduce overall growth potential by limiting development capacity to a level that is more environmentally sustainable. Further, the proposed plan recommends further review and sitting on new development specifically to preserve natural areas. The impacts will be less than if the town did not adopt and implement the plan. Because the proposed plan offers strategies to manage and reduce overall growth potential to include rural sightings, standards and best management practices. The impacts will be less under the proposed plan if the town did not adopt the proposed plan.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So number 7, impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna.
No way.
We're not going to have any effect on any endangered species.
And I think any of the projections that the town has had, whether it be from, capital district planning or county planning, is for slow growth.
Right.
And that's what the town has seen, so there's not going to be any, huge disruption of open space in the town in the foreseeable future. And that seems to be consistent with what the comprehensive plan is
Right.
Suggesting and proposing.
Right.
We're not going to interfere with any natural resources, landmarks, or nesting breeding areas.
Right.
So, no?
Resounding no.
All right, so I'm just going to read back one more time. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. The answer is no. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed plan includes numerous strategies specifically directed at preserving open spaces and promoting agriculture in Princetown. Further, many of the other strategies, such as the use of conservation subdivisions, are also designed to protect important agricultural areas. These strategies are beneficial and will be protective of farmlands in Princetown and are not expected to have any significant adverse environmental impacts. Princetown understands that protection of farmland has been shown to have overall positive fiscal benefits to municipalities because farmlands and open spaces cost communities less in infrastructure expenditures and other community service than residential development. However, some residential and commercial developments will occur in the future. That future growth and development of houses, businesses, and new roads will likely take place on some lands that are currently farmed and thus reduce the potential for farming in Princetown. The proposed plan is designed to allow the town to manage those losses and reduce overall impacts development has on farming because it proposes better standards for situating new buildings in a way that will balance farming and new development. Together with a lower density of housing development in certain locations, the plan will help maximize the town's ability to allow for compatible mix of agricultural and non-agricultural uses. Some farming operations may negatively impact environmental resources if pesticides, manure spreading, and soil management are not conducted properly. The proposed plan does not address the specific agricultural practices of individual farms, and these practices are regulated already by the DEC and agriculture and markets laws.
Yes.
So, number 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources.
No.
We're not going to cause any action against any hayfields, croplands, no excavations.
No.
We're not even proposing to rezone anything
Because this
from
is
agriculture.
From an
to
environmental
other
point of view, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, would it have any significant environmental impact?
No, absolutely not.
Move.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, okay, it's,
So I'll just read back and officially answer. So impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. The answer is no.
no.
Impact on aesthetic resources. Aesthetic resources and visual impacts. The proposed plan establishes many strategies directed at protecting aesthetic resources. Community character is recognized by the town as one of the primary resources desired to be protected. The proposed plan is a very is very oriented to protecting the rural, open, historic, and cultural character of the town and ensuring that new businesses and large housing developments are done on a scale and site layout consistent with traditional patterns seen in Princetown. However, the town recognizes that future growth and development of houses, businesses, and new roads in the future will likely bring about some changes to the aesthetic character of Princetown. The proposed plan allows the town to more effectively review, manage, and reduce impacts through a limitation in overall growth potential. It also elevates the importance of reviewing and mitigating impacts on visual character in site plans, subdivision, and special use permit processes, and encourages careful siting of structures with respect to open spaces, scenic views, and agriculture. All which contribute to the aesthetic resource of the town, therefore impacts will be less under the proposed plan if the town did not adopt them.
Absolutely.
So impact on aesthetic resources, the land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. We really don't have a proposed project, but.
Yeah, I don't
No, but
understand.
even the way the plan looks at aesthetic things, you know, what we could look at if we did nothing. So if we just went by the existing comprehensive plan compared to what the new comprehensive plan proposes, would it tend to support the kind of growth and development that would substantially, impact, aesthetic
Yeah.
resources, visual
No,
character of the town, things like that.
yeah, no, that's,
And, I think the same kinds of things that have been mentioned before with cluster development and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that would tend to try to preserve as much open space and that would tend to keep the rural character, the scenic kinds of views.
yeah.
So, just looking through the plan, I don't see the kinds of things, there's nothing that we're doing that is going to result in like clear cutting of trees.
Right, right.
Or, affecting, I guess
No, yeah.
part of the Norman scale might be a scenic kind of view for some people,
Right.
opposing to affect that in
Right.
any way.
Right. So,
There's no impact on aesthetic resources as a result of the comprehensive plan.
all right. So let me read this back. So impact on aesthetic resources, the land use of proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between a proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource.
No, definitely no. You agree, Lou? Bob?
Impact on historical or agricultural or archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historical or archaeological resource. The proposed plan recognizes the importance of historic resources. Project-specific seekers in the future will ensure that these resources are considered during any site-specific development review process. Review process and development standards, including the proposed plan, will then be beneficial to and protective of historic resources.
Really, I don't think we have anything in the town that's on the National Register
Right.
of historic places, so there's,
Yeah.
we don't have any archaeological sites that we're aware of.
That's right.
Maybe lose them.
Okay, that's a no.
Let me read back so we can be, impact on historical or archaeological resources. The proposed plan may occur in or adjacent to historic or archaeological resource. The answer is no. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in open space resources as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. So, the new plan will not have adverse impacts on open space and recreation in town, but will aid Princetown in ensuring that open spaces and recreational opportunities are preserved during future development. The proposed plan recommends the use of conservation in cluster subdivisions, permanent protection of open spaces on large developments, along with the creation of greenways and links for pedestrians or other programs. Additional development may also increase the need for public water or sewer in certain locations, which could have a fiscal impact to the town and its residents. This potential impact is offset by the maintenance of open spaces, farms, and environmental resources. Future development is likely to remove lands that contribute to the open space and recreational opportunities in the town. These are offset by the proposed plan, which places a premium on open space and provides a future recreational needs as exemplified in the inclusion of an open space requirement when a conservation subdivision is planned and protection of critical environmental and ecological resources during development. Thus, adoption of the proposed plan would benefit Princetown and serve to minimize, not cause, adverse environmental impacts.
That's right.
One question, Mike, up there in the first paragraph where it says permanent protection of open spaces, what does that actually mean? I mean, is that like we're gonna tell a landowner that they have to have so much open space, or that's just, again, a guideline recommendation?
No, where you have a conservation, that's in the conservation and cluster development.
Mhm.
So if you decide that you're gonna go with that kind of development, so when you're doing a cluster development, you're putting like all of the buildings in one area, then you agree to keep the space around it open, because otherwise you would be spreading the development out of the whole parcel. So that's why permanent is there. Because
Yeah.
when you're selling it to the people in the development, you're also selling it to them that there's gonna be open space on the rest of that parcel.
But if they wanted to spread their development out.
If you don't wanna go with that kind of development, that was one of the key things that we discussed during the prior hearings. You don't have to, it creates that flexibility.
Actually, that was one of the
I think-
things that Paul
yeah,
was
Paul.
very high on, was that the plan actually offers additional flexibility.
Okay, as long as it's flexible, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to understand that was the way it was. Okay.
Okay, so I'll read it back, but we're all in agreement, so. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in the loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in open space resources designated in any adopted municipal open space plan.
No, no.
Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. There are no locations in the town of Princetown designated as critical environmental areas under seeker, so the plan will not negatively affect any critical areas.
That's a no-brainer.
Bob, move? Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. I'm sure we don't have one. Just to be formal. So subsequent housing and business development as allowed for in the zoning could contribute to additional traffic in Princetown. Additional business development along with related traffic could change traffic flow and lead to congestion. Any new road build could involve the disturbance of land, removal of trees, and loss of habitats, and changes in stormwater. These are all potentially impacting. However, the proposed zoning changes recommended in the plan includes such town center or hamlet districts are designated to limit large-scale development and mitigate traffic impacts. Thus, future growth will be better managed and transportation impacts reduced by the adoption of the proposed plan.
Yeah.
Move the question back. Impact of transportation, the proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. Negative impact?
No.
Lou?
No.
Bob?
Here, we might, want to look at those sub, category, even though you tend to, favor a no answer. Like the first one is projected traffic increase may exceed capacity of existing road network. We're not doing a specific plan with a comprehensive plan.
Right.
So that really within the comprehensive plan, we're looking at the types of things that the plan would allow or recommend for future zoning. So that's why this, would probably be a no answer, because the plan is looking at maintaining the rural character, slow growth, mostly residential growth, and as Mike said, limiting large-scale development that might otherwise cause you to rethink that number one,
Right.
or A under 13.
Well, I think, based on the last sentence there, that future growth will be better managed, and transportation impacts reduced by the adoption of the plan. I mean, impact on transportation, no.
That's negative declaration.
Yeah,
Todd? Joe? Lou?
no, definitely not.
14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. So, energy use will increase as future development occurs. More houses and businesses mean more energy is needed. The proposed plan mitigates these impacts by recommending reduction in the overall development capacity in the town, and by the creation of new developments that incorporate opportunities that will serve to encourage walking and biking. Prevention of heavy industrial uses would limit impact on energy as well. The plan encourages responsible use and development of renewable energy sources such as wind and solar. We've already taken a step in that direction. So impact on energy, the proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
No way.
Yeah, and again, when you look at the things that they suggest you look at, they're really talking about substantial increases.
Right.
An action that would require a new or upgrade to an existing substation, and certainly maybe other people that have,
Right.
power needs downstate or something would have that. But, even here, there's nothing in any single proposal in the plan that is 50 or more single or two-family residences, so we're not going to see that kind of development.
Yeah. Yeah, in that light, definitely no. No impact.
Bob and Lou? All right, read it back. So impact on energy, the proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
No.
No. Impact on noise, odor, and light. Plan envisions little heavy industrial or other noise or odor development in Princetown. The overall plan will prevent adverse noise and/or odor impacts. All right, so impact, the proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting.
No way. Nope.
Bob? Lou? Impact on human health. So Some of the strategies included in the proposed plan address quality of life issues which directly affects public health, such as standards that promote open space, create recreational opportunities, and create livable communities. Additionally, recommendations that address impacts to air, water, aesthetic, resources, and land also improve public health.
Yep.
Let's see, it's opening up any explosive gases in a landfill or uncovering any hazardous waste.
I mean, no, no, clearly no.
No, and when you look at these questions, you
Yeah.
look back as to part one, which is kind of an inventory. You know, we're fortunate that we don't have any environmentally sensitive hazardous sites. We don't have a landfill or anything
Right,
like that
right,
we
right.
have to be concerned about. So that's what most of these, sub-questions relate to.
Yep.
So we're pretty safe on that one.
That's, yeah,
So that impact, it could be a positive.
that's right.
Two negatives equal a positive?
So resounding no.
All right.
No impact on human.
All right, so impact on human health, just read back to the official. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. So overall, the proposed plan, if implemented, would decrease the overall development capacity in Princetown compared to existing regulatory conditions. If all buildable areas of land were to be developed, applying the proposed density, additional dwelling units could be built over and above what already exists in town, but would be less than if laws were not changed. This reduction in overall density will reduce the potential for negative impacts in the future. The impact of adopting this plan on growth and community character will be better for the environment than if Princetown does not adopt it. The intent of the comprehensive plan is to protect the very factors that make Princetown an attractive place to live and work, rural character being a prime component. The proposed plan achieves this through a balanced approach that focuses on appropriate scale and location of development, conserves open spaces and working landscapes, and encourages economic development that is appropriate to the needs and scale design of Princetown. The proposed plan calls for development standards appropriate to a rural area, as that is what is desired by the residents of Princetown. When tools are implemented to accomplish this, it will ensure that new development is appropriate in scale, siting, function, and design to maintain the unique character of the countryside. Future zoning will direct new development to be of appropriate scale and intensity, and will also reduce the amount of impervious surfaces and stormwater impacts, for example. Adverse impacts that could be associated with future development are minimized and mitigated more under the proposed plan than the current ones, and thus adoption would be beneficial. In conclusion,
Here again, it's one of these things where we're looking at what we have as existing plans, like the existing comprehensive plan, compared to this one. Obviously, the committee took a lot of time to look at the existing plan, the prior proposed plans, and, looks more like an evolution rather than, something radically different. You look through them so that it's I think it'd be hard to argue that they're not consistent,
Right.
even though you may now have, new and revised information, some additional options available as far as development and things like that. But, do we have any, inconsistency that's going to be a substantial negative impact on the environment?
I don't see any at all.
I'm not sure I agree that this plan is consistent with the original one. I think it's a complete rewrite, however, I'm not sure. I also don't disagree that it's a significant or inconsistent with, the spirit or what the original plan, was looking to do. But this is a complete step away from the current plan that we have. It's a complete rewrite. But again, I'm also, don't think it's creating an adverse impact.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. No, I'll just review it again, so
So,
consistency.
no, you just did 17. I thought you were gonna move on.
Oh.
We're not done with 17.
That's what I thought. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with the adopted land use plans. So I'll read one more time. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Joe?
John, no, I don't see how it's possible inconsistent.
Who? No. Bob? No. And Ms. Ritter will be yes, but I'm a no. All right, number 18, consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. I'm not sure I need to read anything on that, but I think this is exactly what he's asking for.
No.
Not replacing or not replacing, we're not eliminating anything.
Additional services, no. But no,
Government services.
no. If anything, you want to
Change the way we
enhance
have
the
landscape.
existing community character.
All right, so, consistency with community character, the proposed project is inconsistent with existing community character.
No.
Bob? No. Luke? Mr. Edwards?
No.
Please. So we read these last three, or?
Well, so it's really on the last page.
All right. So to the final page, upon review of the information recorded on this EAF as noted, plus the additional support information, suggesting the proposed comprehensive plan and the existing 1989 comprehensive plan, public hearing record, and written comments submitted. And considering both the magnitude and importance of each identified potential impact, it is a conclusion of the town board of the town of Princetown as lead agency that A, this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued.
Yes.
Negative action is adoption of the comprehensive plan for the town of Princetown, Schenectady County on 10/29/2013. Name of the lead agency is the town board, town of Princetown. Name of the responsible officer in the lead agency is Mike Joyce, town supervisor. Signature. signature preparer.
But now we will take up the resolution.
Is a signed copy?
That email is right for you.
Not Princetown.net,
Town of Princetown, and then town of, that's go on it.
doesn't say town, it says town.
As long as it didn't say Gmail.
It's just at Princetown.net.
Okay.
No, it's critically important, trust me.
Oh, that's where it is?
No, it's critically important to get the address, email address correct.
So I was not at work.
No, no. All right. Resolution. Determination of no significant environmental impact related to the adoption of the Town of Princetown, New York Comprehensive Plan 2013. Do I have a motion that whereas the Town of Princetown intends to adopt a new comprehensive plan pursuant to Section 272A of the town law to serve as a guide to future land use and planning within the town and to make recommendations regarding zoning and other land use laws. And whereas upon review of the action, the town board determined that the adoption of the new comprehensive plan is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or Article 8, and its implementing regulations. Whereas the town board designated itself as a secret lead agency by resolution duly adopted at the town board meeting held on October 8, 2013, as there are no other seeker-involved agencies, and whereas the town board has completed parts 1, 2, and 3 of a full environmental assessment form, EAF, and whereas seeker required the town board to identify impacts of the adoption of the comprehensive plan under Part 2 of the EAF and to quantify those impacts as either small to moderate or potentially large. And whereas the town board undertook review of Parts 2 and 3 of the EAF and has consulted with its attorney, the town planning board, Schenectady County Department of Planning and Economic Development, and has determined that the adoption of the comprehensive plan will not have any potential large or significant impacts. And whereas the town board carefully considered the environmental impacts associated with this type 1 action, including reviewing and evaluating the EAF and the criteria for determining significance contained in 6 New York CCR 617.7, and has set forth its determination of significance in a written reason elaboration, a copy which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas for the reasons set forth in the written findings statement annexed hereto, the town board has determined that the adoption of the comprehensive plan will have no significant adverse environmental impacts, and accordingly has decided to issue a negative declaration of environmental significance under seeker. Now therefore be resolved that the town board certifies that the requirements of Section 6 New York CRR Part 617 have been met. As a seeker, number 2, as a seeker lead agency, the town board certifies that consistent with social, economic, and other essential considerations from among the reasonable alternatives thereto, and the action be carried out is one which avoids or minimizes adverse environmental impacts to the maximum extent practical. 3, the town board has weighed and balanced its relevant environmental impacts with social, economic, and other essential considerations. Number 4, the facts and conclusions set forth in the finding statement annexed hereto are derived from the reports, submittals, public comment, and other relevant information including the personal knowledge and familiarity of the town board members with the proposed local law. Number 5, the town board hereby declares and adopts the finding statement annexed here to. Number 6, based on the finding statement, the town board hereby declares that the adoption of the comprehensive plan will have no significant adverse environmental impact and hereby issues a negative declaration under seeker. 7, authorizes the supervisor to sign a negative declaration of determination of non-significance with respect to the adoption of the comprehensive plan. Be it further resolved that the town board directs the town clerk to, 1, place the file of the negative declaration, copy attached, to the town clerk's in the town clerk's office. 2, to make the negative declaration and a copy of this resolution available for inspection and copied by the public. Number 3, to forward a copy of the negative declaration to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Town of Princetown Planning Board, Town of Princetown Zoning Board of Appeals, the Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, the Schenectady County Department of Economic Development and Planning, the New York State Commissioner of Agricultural Markets, and the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. And number 4, to cause notice of the negative declaration and adoption of the comprehensive plan to be published in the environmental notice bulletin. Be it still further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito,
Yeah.
Mr. Brzezinski,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes. All right. Adoption of the Town of Princetown, New York Comprehensive Plan of October 29, 2013. Do I have a motion that whereas the Town of Princetown has been considering the adoption of a new comprehensive plan to replace the comprehensive plan of the Town of Princetown dated June 1989, and whereas the Town Board adopted a comprehensive plan revision committee,
Pointed.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, start out again. Whereas the town board appointed a comprehensive plan revision committee, and such committee held regular meetings open to the public and proposed a proposed comprehensive plan on which it held a public hearing duly noticed as required by law, and whereas the town comprehensive plan committee submitted its proposed comprehensive plan to the town board for the town board's consideration, and whereas following the committee's submission of the proposed new comprehensive plan, the town board held a public hearing, and the town board amended the local law to address issues raised by the members and the public, and copies of the revised new comprehensive plan dated September 24th, 2013 were delivered to all town board members and were made available to the notice parties and to the public for public inspection. Whereas the town board has held public hearings with respect to the adoption of the said new comprehensive plan, most recently on October 22nd, 2013 at 7 p.m., which was continued on October 29th, 2013 at 7 p.m., at which time all parties in interest were afforded an opportunity to be heard and to publicly comment on said new comprehensive plan. And whereas notice of the public hearing on October 22nd, 2013 was duly published in the Daily Gazette, the official newspaper of the town of Princetown, on October 11, 2013, and duly posted by the town clerk. And whereas a referral was made to the Schenectady County Department of Economic Development and Planning pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, on September 27, 2013, and the county deferred to the town as far as the adoption of the comprehensive plan in its response dated October 25th, 2013, but made certain minor suggestions of a technical, non-substantive nature, which the town board incorporated into the final comprehensive plan dated 10/29/2013. And whereas a referral was made to the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets pursuant to Town Law Section 272A, and the department responded with no opposition to the plan, and whereas a referral was made to the Town of Princetown Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer pursuant to Town Law Section 272A, and the department responded with no opposition to the plan. Whereas a referral was made to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation pursuant to Town Law Section 272A, and no responses from said agencies. And whereas the town board has declared itself lead agencies for secret review and determined the action to be a type 1 action in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617, requiring the review and completion of a full environmental assessment form. And whereas the town board conducted a secret review and determined that the adoption of the new comprehensive plan will not result in significant adverse environmental impact, and issued a secret negative declaration. And whereas the town board finds it to be in the best interest in the town of Princetown to have a new, updated, revised comprehensive plan to guide the town's land use and zoning into the future. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Princetown, little typo there, does hereby adopt the town of Princetown, New York comprehensive plan dated October 29th, 2013, and directs the town clerk to file a copy of said plan in her office, and to file a copy with the Schenectady County Department of Economic Development and Planning. Be therefore resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
I'll make that motion.
Before, there was one other typo. Yeah, the fourth whereas paragraph, second line, should say, the town board amended the comprehensive plan, not local law.
Oh. Right.
Okay. So Joe, or no, Bob, you have the first motion?
Yes, I did.
Do I have a second? Mr. Edwards?
I'm voting no, and I'd love to give you guys the benefit of my thoughts, so that as the process moves forward, hopefully they'll be taken into consideration. I'll be brief. My comments are really the same as they were 4 years ago, and they're really the same because what's before us really in my mind hasn't changed much from what was presented to me as a new town board member 4 years ago when I got on this town board. As all of you know, planning is kind of near and dear to me. I spent over 7 years on the planning board. When I got on the town board, I had the benefit of receiving the initial revised comprehensive plan draft, and being part of that town board that, as Paul described, had the opportunity to review it. We did so at that time. I also was the town board liaison to an ad hoc committee that was then later charged with comparing that plan and melding it with the original town board plan. So I've read the original, I read the draft, I've been part of a committee that focused on this, I've been part of meetings with the county, and I've read what's been presented here. What I said 4 years ago was I thought that the comprehensive plan did need attention, and I thought that what needed to come out of it was a balanced plan that needed to take into consideration, the more conservative views of those newer members to our town, as well as the perspectives of some more longer-standing families in our town who may or may not own larger tracts of land. And I thought that that would be something that could be accomplished. Being part of the town board that was presented with the original comprehensive plan draft, and understanding the process that they went through and the consultant that they worked with during that process, I also took the liberty of having some offline conversations with some professionals in the industry about what was in that original draft, and the feedback that I got led me to some of my opinions about what had been presented being somewhat ideological and impractical in application. There's some good things and some good concepts in here. I think I have a proven track record. I'm extremely conservative when it comes to planning and development. Again, I have a proven track record of that. And there's some good things in here I think that can benefit our town, but I find this particular comprehensive plan kind of really redundant and kind of just keeps saying the same thing over and over and over again, so it kind of overshadows a lot of the really good things that I think are in there. Under this heading of, preserving our rural characteristic, it just keeps saying the same things about amending zoning and subdivision and site plan, and protecting scenic views, and preserving existing and adding more trees. And I guess from my perspective, as I reflect on this process and the people that were involved, I kind of took notice that, I don't think, if I'm wrong, please, correct me, but I guess I didn't see there were a whole lot of families like mine involved in this process. And, for me, as I look towards the future of our town, I would sure like to see more families and children in our town than trees. We have enough trees. Not saying I want to clear cut the entire town, but we're talking about limiting development, lowering density, preserving scenic views. It's over and over and over and over again. I guess for me, I don't see where it really promotes any type of real, growth that I would like to see. Our town needs families. Our school district needs tax base. So in my opinion, it really lacks there. I think also under the same heading, it's one thing to say I would like to have zoning and a comprehensive plan that protects Walmart from moving next door to my house, but it's an entirely different thing to have site plan and zoning and subdivision rules that make it extremely cost prohibitive for the common person who inherits a piece of land from a family member to even subdivide it so they can build a house for their son to live on so they can live next to their family. And I've seen that in my time here, my involvement in the town of Princetown, over and over again, that exact scenario where someone inherits a piece of land and has to spend over 6 figures just to get through a simple planning board process to be able to allow their child to build a house next to them. There's a big difference between Walmart and that. And I think this promotes that same type of excessive regulatory environment. I think also in a very reactive way to a current proposal that's being proposed here at the gateway of our town, the plan really fails to recognize a real asset in our community in the intersection of the I-88 and I-87 corridor. I feel like we just want that to go away. It's an asset to our community, and it's part of our town, whether it's in our town or not. And I think that the plan should do more to promote how we want to see, that gateway developed, not trying to, in a reactive way, fight off something that's coming in that some people may or may not want. And kind of in that same vein, I also feel like the plan somewhat fails to, consider an awareness of how we can complement or work together with neighboring towns of Rotterdam and Duanesburg to accomplish at least some moderate commercial growth that would add some much needed school tax revenues without the additional pressure to our schools. Having a couple of kids in the school district is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. It's harder and harder for the districts to continue to provide the level of service and education that they're trying to provide for the students. And I think that type of development is going to be critical for our communities. And I think the plan really lacks any real awareness of any of that. And really, again, just in a really redundant way, continues to promote lowering density, scenic views. We got to protect the rural characteristics. You know, again, which some of that's great. I'm not saying, but it's just so pervasive in there. For me, it's overkill. So for me, I think we need a more balanced plan that focuses on a few additional things, and is just less redundant about the same things over and over again. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Esposito?
I'm fine with the plan, just like it's changed.
Yes. So, you answer yes?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
And Mr. Joyce, yes. All right. I don't think I have any more for tonight. We, just on a side note, I asked Mr. DuBois from the CHP not to come. The employees submitted their, signed health forms, so that's all done. And the court security, I put it up for next month. So the guys can come in and present for a different option on court security.
Thank you for doing that.
So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
We didn't want to stay till 11.
Right on time.
I'll make that motion.
That's not even on overtime. So Bob, you make,
I'll second it.
everybody good, Mr. Edwards, good?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, 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 yes. 9:04.